Central Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming on YouTube.
Welcome in to another edition of the Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. I'm CJ Baumgartner. No Corey Tackman today. Our guy Zeke jumping in once again, and we'll talk about this in a little bit later in the show, Zeke. But vibe check, how we feeling? State sports, Minnesota.
State sports, like high school level, professional level, because professional level's mixed. I mean, the Minnesota Frost back-to-back champions.
That's true. The championship parade was like yesterday. How soon we forget.
We've got high school sports. I know section track is today for a bunch of different sections. Section 6A's in Pelican Rapids. Yeah, and you got baseball, softball, golf, and the Timberwolves.
Yeah, the Timberwolves. Hey, the Twins lost 3 of their last 4 now. So
those guys too. And Royce Lewis is like an 0 for 24 slump or something.
Quote, I've lost my joy. It's just
no, he's going full Jimmy Butler on the bit.
We've crushed his soul. Good job.
Oh no.
Good job, guys. Good job. Everybody all around here.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
It's gonna be a fun episode today, isn't it?
It's just gonna be great. I'm all about it. Here we go. Apologize for that cough. I thought apparently this mic is running through my webcam. So I cannot switch it to the actual broadcast quality microphone that is like right here in front of me. So now it's just for show. So good that we got that going for us. All right, let's talk a little high school sports, huh? Before we do that, I'm going to talk about the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena for just a quick second, because they have so much going on right now, including all of the daily specials that are happening at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. I mean, look at all of this great stuff. On Monday, it's half price play in the FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Half price play on all the arcades. You get the tickets, you get the games, you have the chance to win the prizes, including a Wade Boggs autographed jersey or something like it, because we gave that one away. So it could be Wade Boggs, but it's probably not. You can get an NBA, NFL, NHL, NFL. I mean, it's just all up there at the FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Tuesday is Kids Day, where one child, 10 and under, eats free per paying adult. What a deal. What a deal. Then your kids can go play in the FunZone Arcade. That's pretty awesome. Wednesday is Double Points Day. If you're a Ranch Rewards member, boom, double points. So the more pizza you eat, the more free pizza you get. I mean, that's just, I'm no math wizard, but that sounds like a good deal. And then Thursday is Wing Night in the buffet from 5 to 8 at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. You can call 218-631-2145 to order online, or you can do it, of course, on the Pizza Ranch app, where it's so convenient. The Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade, perfect for you just going by yourself or taking the whole family or doing a birthday party, whatever it is. The Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade has you covered. All right, let's talk a little playoff baseball. I want to talk about the 2 games that I had yesterday, because both of them were eventful, each in their own rights. So Staples-Motley was playing Royalton in the second round matchup, or first round of the double elim, however way you want to word it. They were playing in the section quarterfinal game, I guess you could technically call it. But that's it started out quickly, just kind of both teams trading runs back and forth. All of a sudden, it was a 2-2 game midway through, and then runs able to be scored for Royalton off of an error, and then a runner thrown out at home plate. So all of a sudden, it was 3-2 Royalton going into the top of the 7th inning. And then there was a single, a bunt, and then Ben Terrell coming up with a game-tying RBI single. And it's like, oh, here we go. The game is tied. Like, we're going to have some fun baseball here. And then in the bottom half of the inning, it went single, bunt, single. And Royalton won in 7 innings on a walk-off, which just no matter what stage you're in, whether it's regular season, whether especially playoffs in this manner, getting walked off on is just one of the worst feelings in sports. It's like when somebody makes a buzzer beater on you. It's like you're like, you're like right in there to win the game. And so you're all the emotional investment you take just to see it all end on like one brief moment. And then you just kind of wears on you. But it was a really fun game. Tappy for Staples-Motley. Cooper Tappy pitched a really great game. Ended up going the distance in that one. And unfortunately had to take the L on the bump, but gave up a couple earned runs. One of those was unearned. And overall, you look in the game, it was just a really fun back and forth matchup between two really good teams in a really good section in Section 6AA. So for Staples-Motley, that one was eventful in that case. Thought really overall, just kind of a low scoring playoff game matchup. The Cardinals kind of ground their way to get that tying run aboard and give themselves a chance. Get it to the bottom of the seventh, and Royalton just kind of was able to add one more on top. And that's how the score stood the way it was. So they moved to the elimination bracket. And then right after that at Joe Faber Field in St. Cloud, we had Wadena Deer Creek and Piers. And Zeke, here's how it started out for the Wolverines. 2 outs. And then all of a sudden they scored. They reached on an error for Carson Davis. And then all of a sudden double, single, boom, Wadena Deer Creek's up 3-0. And you're like, what the heck? What the heck just happened? All of a sudden, the Wolverines have a 3-0 lead. They get 2 in the bottom, or in the, I should say, top of the second inning. They get 2 more. So they're up 5-0 thanks to back-to-back doubles from Kobe Snyder and Carson Davis. And they got all of those. I don't know if you've ever been in that press box at Joe Faber Field, Zeke, but when somebody gets a hold of one, it lifts up in the air and I thought it was gone. It was cold. It was 60-some degrees, cloudy. It just wasn't perfect conditions. But if it was if you play that game in maybe a month from now, those balls are going out. They're gone. So it was insane. And then all of a sudden we get to the bottom of the third inning. Piers doesn't get anything. Wolverines tack on another run. It's 6-0 Wadena Deer Creek halfway through this game. And you're like, oh my gosh, Wadena Deer Creek's going to pull off the upset. When they played Piers a month ago, Piers beat them 15-5 in 5 innings. Wolverines are running the table. They're going to get a win here. And Piers loaded the bases in the bottom of the 4th inning. And there was a sacrifice fly, scored 1 run. The throw came into home. And I don't know if this was exactly the intent, but it kind of felt like Wadena Deer Creek was baiting that runner on second base to try and take the extra bag on the throw, because Petrowski was the catcher for the Wolverines. He didn't really try to field it, or he fielded the throw, but he didn't try to apply the tag. He just kind of grabbed it and tried to check all the runners, and they threw him out trying to go from second to third. And then all of a sudden it's Wolverines are still up by 5 runs. They had a bases loaded, no outs. Now it's runners on first and second with 1 out or 2 outs in the inning. They're going to get out of this thing. They are going to get out of this. And then it just, Piers is a really good team. And their bats all of a sudden just came alive. And there are a couple plays I'm sure that Wadena Deer Creek want to have back. But Piers is a really good hitting team, and you knew it was only a matter of time before their bats were going to wake up. And all of a sudden, they tapped on a 7 spot in the bottom of the 4th inning to take a 7-6 lead. And Wolverines would chip in some runs here and there, but ultimately just couldn't quite catch up to Piers. Piers won that one 11-7 in 7 innings. It was a really fun game, a lot of fun plays back and forth, but overall, just couldn't catch up with the hitting of Piers. All of this to say, Zeke, Wadena Deer Creek and Staples-Motley are going to play each other in the elimination bracket today. 4:30 first pitch, Joe Faber Field. We will not do coverage of that one, but man, that one, for all the marbles, you're kind of here you go. You got to try and do something to save your season. For the Wolverines and their pitching situation, they use Ben Krecklau to pitch. He will probably not be available. He will not be available with the pitch count limit. Petrowski is available. He came in relief. He pitched, got to that number where you can pitch the next day, kind of got right to it. And then they pulled him back. They brought in Jaden Kenny to kind of close out the game in the mop-up duty. But so they have shortened Petrowski, they have Kenny, and they have some of their other pitchers down the line. For Staples-Motley, Zeke, who did they throw in the playoff opening game against Melrose?
Ben Tyrrell pitched that one through 105 pitches. I think in that one. So I don't know if he'd be available today.
Probably not.
Cooper Tappy probably not available. Yeah.
Tappy's not available either. But if you're the Cardinals, that's it. Those 2 pitchers, and then everybody else is a clean slate. Yep. The other thing is, if you win, you play next week. And there's enough time in that Friday, Saturday, Sunday to let all of the pitch count restrictions vanish. So they're basically both teams are if we can just find a way to get past this one game. We reload into next week, and we see what happens. So this game will be important. It'll be really fascinating to see what happens in here. It's a good Highway 10 rivalry between these two teams. By the way, Zeke, last year's opening round playoff game was at Jerry Reaver Field. Staples-Motley, Wadena Deer Creek. Cardinals got the better of the Wolverines in that one. The year before, it was in Wadena Deer Creek in the opening round playoff game. Cardinals got the better of the Wolverines in that one as well. So Staples-Motley has eliminated Wadena Deer Creek each of the last 2 seasons. You can bet that that's on Wadena Deer Creek's mind of like, we are not going to let this happen again. We got to get one on our rivals here. We got to do that. And if you're Staples-Motley, you're like, hey, we've had their number. Let's go. Now, these two teams played before Staples-Motley's 10-game winning streak was snapped yesterday against Royalton. Their last loss was to Wadena Deer Creek. So this should be a fun one. There at Joe Faber Field for the right to keep your season alive in the elimination bracket. 4:30 first pitch for that one. But let's talk about some of the games we have going on today. There's a lot going on in Section 5A, 6A, 8AA, baseball play, softball. We're going to get to that in a second. But first, Seagull, let's talk about the game you have this afternoon.
Yeah, it should be a good one. In Sebeka, Frazee, the 5 seed, Sebeka, the 2 seed. Just in my show prep, getting ready to call this game tonight at 5 o'clock. It looks like pitching for both teams have been absolutely fantastic. Sebeka has not given up a run in their first 2 wins. Shut out Lake Park Audubon 15-0, beat Nevis 10-0. And for Frazee, they've only given up 1 run in their previous 2 games. They beat Walker Hackensack Akeley 6-1, and then had that 8-inning thriller over New York Mills on Tuesday. Final score there was 1-0. And so I'm expecting pitching to be fantastic again here this afternoon, and we'll see what the bats can do. Sebeka bats a lot better than Frazee at this point in the season, but it just takes a couple big hits like we saw in the Staples and Royalton matchup yesterday. A couple key hits late in the game could win you a ball game, and Frazee will try and do that against Sebeka this afternoon.
Mobile app. Looking on here, we good? My audio good? I thought I cut out for a second.
Yep, you're back.
All right, I'm back. All right, cool. That game, by the way, Zeke's game, Superstation K106. That's the place to check it out there. WadenaRadio.com, Superstation K106 mobile app, and also on 101.7 FM and AM 920 KWAD, streaming online at WadenaRadio.com/KWAD. We have a matchup in 6A baseball. Parkers Prairie taking on Breckenridge. Panthers have a QRF of 91.9. Breckenridge a QRF of 57.8. For the Panthers, they are 18-3 on the season, 4-1 in Section 6A, 12-2 in the Park Region Conference, where they took another PRC title this season, 10-1 on the road, 8-2 at home. And for the Panthers, they suffered a loss to Upsala-Swanville area back on April 24th, and then they lost to Sebeka on April 29th, 9-1. And since that, the month of May, they have not lost a game. They got victories over AA schools in Osakis, in Pillager, Otter Tail Central, a couple times, Monaga, and overall some other victories against some section opponents as well in Brandon, Evansville, Browerville, Eagle Valley. All of this is to say is that there is a 11-game winning streak now for Parkers, for a 12-game winning streak rather, for Parkers Prairie, counting their playoff game that they had earlier this week on Tuesday. It was a 9-1 victory yesterday for the Panthers against Rothsay, and now they take on the Breckenridge Cowboys. The Cowboys are 11-8 on the season, 3-2 in Section 6A. They are 7-5 in the Heart of Lakes Conference. They are 3-5 on the road, 8-3 on their home field. For the Cowboys, they are over their last 5 games of the season, they went 4-1 with victories over Park Rapids area, splitting with Frazee and getting a victory over Hillcrest Lutheran Academy. They got a 6-2 victory over Browerville Eagle Valley on Tuesday to get to this spot to play Parkers Prairie in Browerville. That's the neutral site location for these games. By the way, 1:45 pregame, 2 o'clock first pitch for these. We will cover Parkers Prairie's second game because, as the bracket states, they are going to play 2 games today in this section matchup. So here we go, Zeke. Just a lot of baseball, softball here going on. Not only is that going on, by the way, but there is also section softball happening in Browerville for 6A because it is the final game of the elimination bracket between New York Mills and Swanville. 2 teams ranked 1 and 2, and that half of the subsection, the winner, they have an 11:45 pregame, noon first pitch. So if you're listening, that game is probably done. But if New York Mills wins, they get to play Clinton Graceville Beardsley again. They had a 2-1 loss to them. I believe it was 2-1. It was like a 1-run loss in that game. It was just a heartbreaker. And they had the tying run tagged out at the plate to end the game. It was a fun one between New York Mills and CGB. New York Mills has to go now to the elimination bracket. If they beat Swanville, they get a rematch with Clinton Graceville Beardsley. And if that happens, they will play another game today. If New York Mills can beat CGB, they will play tomorrow for a winner-take-all game. New York Mills has to win 3 games to get to the state tournament here over the next couple days, if that's the juncture they want to take. So that's what Section 6A looks like. That's pretty much out of our broadcast area. Those are the only teams that we're in coverage of. Looking at some other games, flipping back to baseball for 5A, New York Mills taking on Nevis. That's a 5 o'clock first pitch. Bertha Hewitt Verndale taking on Hill City Northland. That game will be in Verndale, 5 o'clock first pitch. Frazee, of course, Sebeka on that side of the bracket. On the other side of the bracket, it's Mille Lacs, and Ogilvie. In Section 6A, Parkers Prairie, pretty much the only local team we're covering. Long Prairie Great Eagle and Brandon Evansville are playing each other at 2 o'clock in Browerville as well. That will be the winner of that game will play Parkers Prairie if they are able to win that game. And Upsala-Swanville area plays Ortonville. Looking in the 6AA, we talked about Wadena Deer Creek and Staples-Motley today. And in 8AA, the defending section champion Perham Yellow Jackets play Holly at 2:30 in Perham this afternoon. So there's your high school sports peak, Zeke. Now let's talk about the real issue of the day.
Do we have to?
No, but we gotta. We got to appease the one person out there who wants to keep talking about this. Which team was more disappointing, Zeke? This current iteration of the Minnesota Timberwolves, this team that lost in the Western Conference Finals. Let me narrow it down. Which Western Conference Finals was more disappointing? Not the season overall. Which Western Conference Finals was more disappointing? This one against the Thunder or last year's against the Mavericks?
There are definitely little bits and pieces from each one you can take. Starting 2 years ago, I mean, the Wolves get to the Western Conference Finals after that huge Game 7 comeback against Denver. I mean, they were left for dead. I forget how many points they were down exactly, but it was a bunch. 20 plus points, came back and won that game. And you're kind of feeling, okay, maybe this is a team of destiny. Kind of gave you that Minneapolis Miracle feeling where Stephon Diggs walks it off at home. You have the Super Bowl at home that year. Maybe this is the year that we finally break this 30-plus year curse of the Big Four. Yeah, to snap the thing. And then the Mavericks happen, the 5 seed. You get upset by the Dallas Mavericks. A couple calls don't go your way, including the, I think it was Kyrie Irving foul on Jaden McDaniels. That should have been Wolves ball, but you couldn't review it at that point. And then the rule change happens, and the rule change eventually comes back to help the Wolves in I think it was game 3 or 4 against the Lakers.
Yep. When
LeBron James fouled Anthony Edwards, balls go out of bounds, blah, 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 blah. And the Wolves eventually, what goes around comes around, helps the Wolves win a close game against LeBron and the Lakers.
It's bound to happen at some point.
It's got to happen. It's got to happen at some point. But eventually, just Luka and his lobbing up to everybody in that Maverick series, too much for the Wolves. They lose last year to get the first Western Conference Finals appearance since 2004. Then this year, you've got the long struggle of the season. You trade Karl Anthony Towns, you get Julius Randle, you get Dante DiVincenzo, you get the draft pick, which I think is 17. It's the Detroit Pistons pick. So the Wolves, I think, pick 17 and 31 in this year's draft. Yeah. And all the growing pains that come with it. I mean, Julius Randle was not a popular guy in Minnesota the first half of the season. gets hurt, comes back. The Wolves win like 17 of 20 with Big Jew in the lineup. They beat LeBron and the Lakers in 5, despite nobody in the national media picking the Wolves to win. You get to knock Jimmy Butler out of the playoffs in that second round matchup. You get to shut Draymond Green up a little bit. You get some kind words from Draymond Green about Rudy Gobert, this Wolves team, which you never thought would happen, and Julius Randle. And then you get a matchup with the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that you were 2-2 against in the regular season. And the one thing you're watching for is I hate to keep bringing this up because Oklahoma City just throttled the Wolves, whether they had a kind whistle or not. My goodness, they fell asleep in game 4, which, you know, gave us a little bit of hope that maybe we can come back from a 3-1 deficit or whatever.
It was 2-0 at the time.
Yeah,
so
game 3. They won
yeah.
game 3. Yeah, the 40-point win in game 3 gave some hope. Game 4 was the 2-point loss, some ticky-tack calls, the just Wolves unable to pull down an offensive rebound. You get 2 offensive boards in that game, and it's 2-2 at that point in the series. And so there are different things, different heartbreaking moments from either season. I'm gonna say that the Dallas one hurt a little bit more, solely because, as we know now, that was Karl Anthony Towns' final run with this team, and we would have loved to have gotten Cat to a finals. He's staving off elimination tonight. Yeah, Kyle Anderson. Yeah, Cat's trying to stave off elimination. His Knicks are down to the Pacers 3-1. I mean, Halliburton is doing just amazing things with that Pacers team, who really started playing as well as they did in those Obi Toppin games against the Wolves earlier this winter. That's kind of when things started to click for the Pacers.
You're welcome, Indiana.
Yeah, and it was after that Obi Toppin home and home series or whatever that things really started clicking for the Timberwolves. So there was that pivotal point of the season for both the Pacers and the Wolves. Unfortunately, the Wolves they lose in 5. Pacers, they have a chance to close out the Knicks at MSG tonight. But I think I'm rambling here. If I were to choose one of the 2 Western Conference Finals that hurts more, it would be being upset by the Dallas Mavericks 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this for a while because it was like, I mean, this year, like, it felt like, oh, wow, like this year kind of felt like they're deeper. They tweaked the roster, you know, like Julius Randle's fitting in. This team is playing up to its potential. It depends. I mean, the vibes, I think, are really how you look at this, because the Timberwolves on paper ending the year, they were top 5 in offense and defense. And by the way, the other teams that finished in that were the Oklahoma City Thunder, Boston Celtics, and Cleveland Cavaliers. And out of those 4 teams, the Wolves finished second out of all 4 of those. So, like, you could say the Wolves on paper were actually like not just as good, but they were like close enough to the Thunder where they felt like you could have made that a series. You know, if they went, I mean, game 4 is really where everything swung. If the Wolves would have found a way to win game 4 and the series goes 2-2, you know, whatever. Like, I'm not saying the Wolves win the series, but like, you play another game and then now you're going back to Target Center for game 6. Even if you lose on game 5, you still are sending it back to Target Center for a chance to send it back to a game 7. Like, there's just a lot of levels in play here with that. So, like, I just think overall, just if I'm on a gut level without thinking, I still feel like last year's was more disappointing. Because like you said, last year did kind of feel like the team of destiny. Like, the Wolves had played well all year. This was after, 2 years of making the playoffs, getting bounced in the first round. Can this unit do it? Can they take that next leap? Ant took the next leap. Jaden took the next leap. They figured out how to play together with Rudy Gobert, with Cat, with Ant. Like, they all figured out how to play with each other, and everything just clicked, and they won a bunch of games, and they were battling for the 1 seed all season long, whereas this year they were just battling for the play-in, and they kind of, again, I'm not saying that the Wolves weren't a Western Conference final worthy team. They are, as I just mentioned this year. But their matchups were a lot more favorable, playing LeBron and Luka, a team that was just happy to get Luka, that they kind of forgot to get a center, and they paid for that. And then a Warriors team where Steph got hurt, and you were able to advance. Now, the Wolves took care of business in both those series, but still, whereas last year, they swept the Suns, which was really fun. But as we saw, like, the Suns are broken, so you just kind of took care of business. And then you had that, like you said, that game 7 against Denver, that whole series. Like, you went toe-to-toe with the defending champs, and you knocked them off. It kind of felt like, all right, that was the last hurdle. Like, that was it. Like, and the Mavericks caught a heater. and won, and then no-showed when they got to the finals against Boston. So like it just last year's felt more disappointing because you felt like that the Wolves had an easier path to get to the finals. Because let's be honest, as much as I hate to give the Thunder flowers, and I hope nothing good happens to that franchise ever, they had 2 bad years, and all of a sudden they were like, oh man, there was really the dark times. You've had 3 MVPs in the last decade. So anyway, but they're a really good team. They're a really excellent team. Oh, by the way, they have multiple first-round picks in this year's draft.
And they're going to trade them all for Kevin Durant. It's going to be basically everything I'm seeing on social media this year is who is going to land Kevin Durant in a trade this offseason. And right now, I think the top 2 guys are OKC and Minnesota.
My next chapter. That's a conversation in its own right of the Kevin Durant thing. But, I mean, overall, I'd have to say, just gut level, I could probably talk myself into this year being a bigger disappointment, considering that like they were a really nice team and they had some players hurt throughout the year. And once they finally got together and clicked like last year's team did, they played really well. But you just ran into a really good Thunder team. It's why overall Vikings fans lament 38-7. But like, I know Nick Foles was the quarterback, but do you remember the rest of that Eagles roster? They were really good. Yeah. Really, really good. Yep. Like, that's a thing of like, sometimes you just run into a buzzsaw. We find that with high school sports all the time. There's a really nice team that's had a really good year and you have a really nice set of players and you just run into a team that is better and not miles better, just better. They just could do things a little easier. Things are coming a little easier for them. Even if they're not like, maybe just this year they're better. Things are just clicking for them at the right time. All of that to say, I think last year's was more disappointing than this year's, but it's not by much. And I could I could overthink it and talk my way into this year being more disappointing. But I think you just had a Mavs team that I think was easier for the Wolves to knock off. But now the process is they got a busy offseason. They got a lot to figure out. They got Randall to figure out, Nas to figure out. By the way, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Yeah. I mean, they're going to tweak the roster. I highly doubt the Wolves are just going to go, we'll just run it back. Even when they went to the Western Conference Finals last year, we all kind of knew there was a big Karl Anthony Towns elephant in the room. Yep. Like everybody was kind of like, are the Wolves going to trade him? Like their salary future, they're going to need to make some moves to get out of the second apron. And then you got so close to the year, they're like, maybe they are just going to run it back. And then at the last second, they traded Cat for Randall and DiVincenzo. But and the first round pick, which will be important because the Wolves are going to need to retool the roster. You have first round pick as capital to help trade that. But overall, like the Wolves are just in a spot where they are not just going to tweak the roster. They're not just going to go, we'll sign a role player off the bench and we'll call her an off season. We'll just run it back. Like there is going to be some kind of major change, whether it's signing and trading Randall, whether it is trading. Basically, here's who's safe on the roster. Terrence Shannon Jr., Anthony Edwards. I don't know why I listed Terrence Shannon Jr. first. Like, he's the most important. Anthony Edwards, he's the most important to the fan base, him and Dillingham. Yeah. You have Terrence Shannon Jr., Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels. Those are 3 guys that the Wolves are just not. The only reason I say Terrence Shannon Jr. is because Alex Rodriguez talked about him in an interview.
Loves him.
Loves him. So that's why. But basically, Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels are the 2 players the Wolves are just, you ask them, they're hanging up the phone.
Yep.
Like, that is what's the play. Everybody else, whether it's Gobert, and I'm not saying any trade for anybody is imminent, whether it's Gobert or whether it's Randall or whether it's whoever, other Dante, Mike Conley, who still has 1 more year on his contract. Like, there is a lot of questions they're going to have to answer. And we're just going to have to see what they do. But they are going to make some kind of swing. I just have it in my gut. Not that they're going to make like a headline-y swing, like they're going to go get Kevin Durant, although that is in play. But I feel like they're just going to do some kind of thing to they're going to, get rid of somebody or really upend a role just to be because Tim Conley has said, there have been reports. So they sat down Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels and basically we're going to try and build you a championship team. You just have to understand that things there is going to be change at times. You are going to get the roster flipped on you from time to time, but it is because we are trying to win a championship and we are just going to try and mix and match here until we find what works. So it'll be fascinating to see what happens with that. Wolves in 7 till it ain't.
Wolves in 7 till it ain't. And as of right now, it ain't.
Game 6 tomorrow. Let's go. Target Center one more time.
No, it's hockey season. Yeah, we were watching the game last night, and my son Judah got so frustrated with it. He loves hockey, and by halfway through the second quarter, he was already watching Panthers and Hurricanes last night. So kudos to the Florida Panthers for advancing back to the Stanley Cup championship. We're in line to get an Oilers versus Panthers rematch from last year. That'll be fun.
Yeah, there's a former Gopher on the Panthers, I'm pretty sure.
I think he retired.
Did he retire? Yeah.
He retired.
I thought I was reading somewhere that there was a former Gopher somewhere nestled.
Yeah, he won his cup last year and went out in the blaze of glory.
Yeah, as is tradition.
But Matthew Tkachuk, baby.
Bye-bye.
USA.
Twins, they're off today. They play Seattle this weekend. Lynx play tomorrow. They're 5-0. Let's go.
They're 5-0.
That's about it. That's all we got. That's all we got. Who says we don't have a championship?
That's all we have.
Hey, it could be worse. At least Adam Silver wasn't in Oklahoma City with the one building of the Oklahoma City skyline there.
Yeah, I've driven through Oklahoma City before. It's a quick drive. They have a nice zoo down there, but that's about it. If you want to go see some giraffes in the middle of nowhere, check out the Oklahoma City Zoo.
I had a really nice steak dinner in downtown Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
that was about it. That was it. We were driving through there, and it was like a church trip, and like it was like one of the last dinners on the way, like before we made the grind. Like it's the all right, trip's over. We're just gonna try and book it home. Like this was we're gonna stop it because we were in San Antonio. We booked up. We were in Oklahoma City. This is like the last. Okay, this is the last meaningful stop because we're just gonna be driving through flat nothing. Sorry to Mizzou, Zeke. For the next 12 hours. So let's get a nice steak dinner in Oklahoma City. It was really good. That was about the only. Had a very nice conversation with the waiter in the bathroom. That was about it. Yeah. Otherwise, Oklahoma City. By the way, we drove through Oklahoma City the day after Kevin Durant signed with the Warriors.
Oh, so you got to see it before it was.
I got to see it they were in the process of grieving.
Yeah.
So when we drove through the city.
Good. They've deserved everything that came from having James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant in their prime and not doing anything with it.
Darn him. Although
Shame.
Russell Westbrook on the team, they got Paul George as we need to try and keep Westbrook happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that blew up. And what did the Thunder do? They rebuilt and they flipped Paul George to the Clippers for 1 million second-round draft picks and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah. We're gonna get an NBA Finals here with two teams that have pretty much rebuilt their entire rosters off Paul George trades with the Pacers and the Thunder.
Yeah.
So who's laughing now? Philadelphia, because they're going to try and trade Paul George for the farm this offseason and try and rebuild that way. That's what the process is.
Take him back, Clippers.
Just trade Paul George, and that's how you get to the NBA Finals.
That's how you
eventually.
Also, trade Sabonis. That's also the key.
Yeah.
Good job, Kings. Once again, you had a really fun roster, and you just tore it down immediately.
Yeah.
Good job.
Halliburton and Fox on that team together, dude.
Yeah, they got to trade Hallie. They were going to build around Fox. And then
who's now in San Antonio, isn't he?
Yeah, they traded Fox for like half of the 9-seed Bulls roster.
That's right.
Oh, and shocker, it didn't work out. They missed. Were they in the play-in? Did they play in the first play-in?
The Kings? Yeah, they lost to the Mavericks, I think.
They lost to the Mavericks. Yep. So good job, guys.
Yeah, I remember when my favorite basketball team used to do stupid moves like that, and now all we do is win until
Tim Conley, proven basketball no. Tim Conley, proven ball knower until proven otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. At least JJ McCarthy's running around with the Vikings.
Yeah, when does training camp start?
OTAs are right now. Training camp is about 2 months away.
Perfect. I'm in.
All right, we're in. There we go. All right, Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. See you tomorrow.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.